The first thing you have to do as soon as you decide on the dates for the visit is to talk, communicate at length in advance. What are the expectations? How long are you staying? Do they have a guest room? Are you staying on their pull-out sofa? Do they have bedding? Do you need to bring a sleeping bag? Really talk about this stuff in advance, because it makes it so much more comfortable than to arrive and realize they don't even have a sleeping bag for you.
That's something. If they don't have a sleeping bag for me, I'm out.
Well, and some people, I mean, can it be rude to show up with too much stuff when they... I brought my own coffee because I don't like yours, you know?
Well, it's all in how you do it. So if you really like your particular coffee, make that the hostess gift. So give them coffee, bring some Danish, some pastries, and make that into a little basket, as opposed to your coffee really is terrible.
Well, and I've made that mistake several times. People buy all different types of cranberry juice. They just don't buy the original Ocean Spray cranberry juice. Just the original. So I show up with my own, because that's what I want my cocktail made with, so I'm not disappointed. Is that being rude?
Well, I would say bring the cranberry juice as well as the vodka or whatever.
You should bring the whole kit.
Yes, you should bring the whole, make it into a whole gift as opposed to just a mixer.
As a gift.
It's expensive, Jodi.
Yes, but if you're staying at a hotel, that's even more expensive.
That's
so
true.
You have to weigh out the cost-benefit ratio.
You're absolutely right.
And that's actually something, never show up empty-handed, right? You should always bring a gift?
You should always bring a gift, and if you're staying for more than 2 or 3 days, you need to supply a meal. So that's either taking my hosts out and me paying for the meal, or me going and buying groceries and making a meal in their house to feed them. So after 2 or 3 days, you need to be involved in the feeding of the people as well.
What if the people have to work while we're on vacation?
Yes, so just because you're taking a vacation doesn't mean they're on vacation. So again, during that communication phone call ahead of time, talk about these things so that you can make a plan to go and see the seacoast, to tour the cranberry bogs, to go to the Historical Society, find out if you're going to have a car, if they're going to lend you their car, if there's public transportation, find out what those details are. But you know what? Most people don't want to spend 24/7 with anybody. Nobody. So you want to make time, even if they're taking time off from work, make time that you can go and do your thing and they can go and do their thing, and then you meet back for dinner and talk about what you both did for the day.
Right.
Okay. And what if you're going together and you're all renting a house together, so someone doesn't own it? How do you determine things like who gets the best bedroom?
Again, you're going to talk about it in advance. You can draw lots. You can charge more for the person that has the bedroom that has its own bathroom. But talk about it in advance and talk about the payment. Are you going to pay each other by PayPal, or bring checks, or bring cash? Especially for things like that, oftentimes there's one person who's putting out all the money in advance. Talk about how that person's getting paid back. Talk about it in advance so that on vacation
you're not worried about it, because I put out the money and then I'm stressed the whole vacation that I'm not going to get the money back, and then everything costs. I spend everything on everything and I'm not getting a dime back, and eventually you do, but you got to worry about it the whole trip. I don't want to worry about it.
So maybe you set a deadline. I'm put this on my credit card, but please, all of you, have your checks by X date, 2 weeks before we leave, or whatever.
Yes, exactly. And you can do different things. So you put out for the house, you're doing the bar tab, and I'm getting all the groceries, and then we figure out what's left over. So it's not Scott that's put out all the money for everything in advance.
Okay. Now, what about chores around the house, things like that?
Yes, again, you assign it out. Have a little wheel, turn the little, it's your turn to make the beds in the morning, it's your turn to make the coffee in the morning. Assign the things out or hire a maid, but don't expect that one person is going to do that for everyone.
Or if we're staying at someone's house, what should we be doing at a bare minimum?
At a bare minimum, you're tidying up after yourself so that they don't have to tidy up after you.
Now, this is a funny question. Does that mean if you're there for a week, do you have to make your bed every day?
If your door does not shut, so if you're staying in the family room, if you're staying in a public part of the house, you do need to make sure that you're tidied. If they have a guest suite or a guest house for you with a door that shuts, I'm not so concerned, but you don't want your host to have to walk by and see your mess every single day.
Okay, that's a good point. So if it's out in the open and people can see it, make sure it's tidy. If it's not, then you can get away with a little bit more.
Exactly.
What about repeat guests? You know, maybe you have these really great friends and you're constantly over their house because they have a pool, and your kids are always their pool. Do you bring them something every time?
You don't have to bring every single time, but if you know that your kids are spending most of their summer in your backyard, your friend's backyard pool, you need to take responsibility to make sure that your kids are not eating them out of house and home. So fill their freezer with popsicles. Make sure that when the ice cream truck comes by, the ice cream treats are on you. Every once in a while, order pizza to the pool on your treat so that your friend feels like you're helping to contribute. And again, manners matter, but safety first. Just because your friend friend has a pool does not mean that they're a lifeguard in charge of watching your kids every moment. Have that conversation, find out who's CPR certified, and if you're concerned, you need to be watching your children in that pool.
Very interesting. Arguments on trips, should you just try and resolve them as quickly as possible?
No, I think you should get in a big... No, yes, you want to try to resolve things earlier rather than later.
Sometimes I'm like, I'm just going to let this go until after the vacation.
Well, and there are things that you do let go, but if it's something that needs to be resolved, what I like to do is have a mini timeout. So we're having a big disagreement. Let's all take a half-an-hour break, and then we'll come back together. We'll meet in the dining room, and we'll talk about what to do going forward.
That's great advice.
Yeah.
All right, for more etiquette advice, head to Jodi's website. It's mannersmith.com. You'll also find her on Facebook.